else is there to do that can sort of keep this light, but obviously, you know, is playable in this here realm of odd space. Maybe it doesn't pick up my own thing as a viewer. Maybe I have had viewers a lot of these times playing this stuff. But again, how much do I just take my own thinking into consideration when thinking about these things, you know? If that's the case, then lots of silence. StarCraft, Diablo, League of Legends, Space Invaders, Forza, The Sims. I would play Forza, but it's like so hard to control the vehicles. Sims is just almost too like relaxing to play. Space Invaders, that's like so much stuff going on. Diablo is obviously kind of dark. I'm trying to keep a lighter atmosphere, especially if I'm doing this, you know, constantly or continually throughout the day. StarCraft. I guess I could just browse the internet and, like, I mean, I guess a lot of people just do that. You know, they just sort of browse the internet and talk about stuff that they see or different clips and things like that. This stuff I usually don't pay any attention to unless it's like something that doesn't seem like it's advertising something. You know, it's like, oh, it could be just like a quick fact or something like that. David Beckham's company settles $10 million lawsuit with Mark Wahlberg's. Okay. Obviously, if you don't know who these guys are, actor David Beckham is a soccer player. That's what this is all about. DB Ventures Limited settled the $10 million lawsuit against Mark Wahlberg's fitness company, F45. DB Ventures Limited, owned by soccer star David Beckham, originally sued the company claiming owed money for promotional social media posts, so just like unpaid things. A judge had ordered the lawsuit to trial in 2025, but the two companies have since settled the matter and the lawsuit will be dismissed. Okay. A lot of people browse YouTube, check out things in the top sections of YouTube and stuff like that. Just like, I don't know how much of those people are like, all the clips have been, you know, clipped by some sort of manager and then they just view them and comment on them or something like that. But here's something I've been watching. How to play. Obviously, you know, people skip around so they don't like bring up flags of content and stuff like that. But something I'm working on doing in my spare time. I could probably whistle this, to be honest with you. Check this out. Talk about playing the flute. Watch. I can almost play it on the flute if I go at like half speed, but then I'm holding notes forever. And it's really hard. Like run out of breath, but it's like tough doing it at like normal speed because then it's like tough to change all your finger notes. But I can play the flute almost like Guitar Hero just because the way that the instrument is streamlined to the from the left to the right, unlike a lot of other instruments that are straight down kind of thing. And it's only like one line of notes, makes it sort of doable as well in that way. Yeah, I can whistle it if I have like feedback. Man, think of if like I took all this stuff like to the extent of, oh, at this point in time I'm wearing this brand, which I'm advertising this kind of thing, if really it mattered in my reality. The funny thing is a lot of lay people wear brands and things like that all the time, and it's not necessarily like you're marketing a brand. I mean, you are, but obviously you don't gain any like assets from doing so. I was never one to like wear things just because of a brand. It was like, oh, these are like nice pants. I mean, right now I have on pants that are like, it's called Fabletics, It's like I think they're nice and they're cool. That's why I wear them. And this shirt is like built. What's called. My brother gave me this shirt, but I just wear it because it's like if I didn't enjoy like the style or the fit of the shirt, I probably wouldn't wear it. If you would have invested $10,000 in Berkshire Hathaway stock 30 years ago, here's how much you'd have. Should never dwell on the past that much. Where to buy Science Diet? Star of controversial Netflix series found dead in jail, cell, age 29. Sad. I know what that's like. It's like easy to like just sort of give up on everything in a situation like that. Really easy to lose the will to live almost, and you know, like who knows what the other extenuating circumstances are, but it's like it's very easy to just like whittle, like I don't know, have your life like be whittled away inside of like a jail cell, and you know, think like, oh man, like did this really have to happen that way? Who knows what this whole thing is going on there, but it's just like I know from my own circumstances, and just like obviously, you know, getting caught up in the whole play of this world, it's just like tough, like, you know, like the idea of just like how competitive all the nature of all this stuff is without, you know, enough things working out for you. And who knows if so much of what I say is true. It's just like you can't deal with yourself any more than you always deal with yourself. There's like obviously being an adult and a child, and just like being the oldest adult is like being the greatest celebrity at times. You know, basically you can sort of think of something like that, like who's the most popular? Well, who's like the oldest? Like to an extent, it's like that does hold some truth between the push and pull between popularity and work. You know, everybody just wants to be popular, which is like the idea of gain without work kind of thing, or whatever, or like thought, you know. But obviously there should be some things which are automatic, which I think that's where popularity has like, and like celebrification has like a sense of being and purpose more than anything, is the idea of complexity itself being automatic. But there should be consideration, like a lot of this stuff in reality should be automatic and should have, you know, a way for the world to experience something without there being so much going on inside the mind or within an object. Obviously, if you want to get to some level, then you have prominent objects within your reality, what you fine tune all the ideas of automation and having thought behind an action over time to get yourself to some other stage or level within this reality. But I think that looking at all this stuff for face value is really, obviously, a lot of people say that that's incorrect. I don't know if you'd necessarily hear my rhetoric in regards to how to view all of that, you know, along with it. But again, if that's the case, then you're just dealing with somebody who has like really Eastern values and is very reserved. And who knows, maybe there's people in the West that have ideas and values like that, but maybe they're much more, you know, in the shadows kind of thing. And it's just like, yeah, like the guy, he lives out in the desert all by himself and like believes the same stuff kind of thing, you know. It's like the whole idea of Little House on the Prairie. It's just like people live by that. They don't necessarily, again, say it in dialogue and a setup like this, but you know, supposedly I have one viewer, and it wasn't counting a viewer a little bit ago. Supposedly I'm getting the message out to somebody. But Jake Gyllenhaal opens up about being legally blind. Taylor Swift fans make all too well connection. All right. Interesting. And then who knows? Maybe there's like, if you listen to what I say, maybe there's like specific conversations would surround like all this stuff, and it's like That's like whatever it is that you're being considered as, dealing with. And it's like, sure, then you can say that that's like the specific conversation or atmosphere that surrounds your being. If I was to try and translate this to like the idea of astrophysics, with all the different components that are housed inside of an atmosphere of you know life's supporting elements. Sure, there's lots of different kinds of experiences on this world. Even within the idea of life, there's very specific ones. So who knows? I don't necessarily want to look into that too much, though, but NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang to sell up to 735 million in stock. Okay. Apple is going to unleash another iPhone moment, says Keith Fitzgerald. 2 dividend stocks that are screaming buys in June. My biggest thing is just like dealing with like, obviously, how much energy intake do I have in regards to, supplements and things like that to keep a healthy relationship with my ability to stay aware and awake within this sort of environment, here throughout the whole day, and then be able to work conducively with my environment outside. It makes it even more difficult because it's like this type of interaction would be seen as like a radio show host kind of guy, something from like coast to coast type of things, right? But from my end, it's like I'm receiving no sort of like social status, and I'm not necessarily reaching into this device. Obviously, I've come to the ideas that I have through means such as this, but it's not necessarily like I'm increasing my social standing by any sense. It just gets harder and harder and harder for me on my end of all this stuff, is like, with the idea of, yeah, he's just doing it just because it's like a safe place to be in his reality right now, which is basically why I'm here doing a lot of this stuff. UFOs with John Oliver. I used to watch a lot of this when I was much more like, I'm obviously going through a little bit of a sheltered moment, where it's like my faith in my own abilities is pretty, I guess, reserved, or maybe it's much more centralized if I was to try to give myself the benefit of the doubt. I used to watch John Oliver all the time. I would go to like Einstein's Bagels, and I'd watch John Oliver like during lunch while I went to Utah State University, and I'd watch the things just to get like my daily dose of like sort of what was going on in the neighborhood of the world kind of thing. I mean, I could watch that and like give some commentary and stuff like that. World's largest explosion. Looks like it's in Minecraft. And looks like he's just having a great time. Like, this is like a comfortable moment for me. It's like the light in my atmosphere is like, it's fairly decent. There's a little bit of like, for professional flutists, teach airflow and resonance. A little bit of like a defeatist attitude there, But I think that conversation probably comes into play with most people in regards to, them leaving life anyways, is just like, oh, it was all for naught kind of thing, and it's like, I think some of the greatest people that probably existed didn't have so much feedback or immediate feedback within their life as to, as to what they were doing continually every day. Like a lot of great composers. I have a lot of this flute stuff on my stuff now because I've been looking up flute lessons so I can learn how to play my flute better and stuff like that. But a lot of people like that didn't have necessarily immediate feedback. I kind of, it's tough to be in a place where it's like everybody just is, you know, or has had a lot less experiences that bring thought to the forefront of their experience during the day. It's like you can almost exist in Hollywood, in my opinion, much more so if you have the idea of being able to like follow and not having as many maybe mistakes as I have, you know. And then it's just like that idea of keeping up with the herd, like keeping up with the herd or whatever is obviously much more automated. And but in my opinion, at my point, it's pretty difficult to try to navigate all the realms of what can I sit through, you know, holding all this amount of thought in regards to how much of a rhetoric or dialogue I have to justify my position in this world without necessarily having the assets to give me a sense of purpose and, you know, reason to be where I am. I'm almost completely built off of the summation of words at this point in my reality, which is very difficult because you almost have to be listening like interactively the entire time. You can't just say like one word. The power of words is what I've come to realize is the built up summation of words over time. You know, you can show books and things like that, but there's no real way for somebody to understand things at a moment's glance unless it is like art, which I have dabbled in, you know, but that becomes very competitive, just like a lot of this stuff. I mean, what says more, like the motion picture or the picture? I mean, all this stuff is resting on a single picture to get the motion going, you know. And obviously artists do have a right of way in regards to the expression of the historical world and the present world, you know, especially the better that they are at capturing the idea that, you know, things can be taken at a glance kind of thing. But the power of words is very difficult to have perceived as being powerful or substantiating unless the entire word is listened to, you know, or read through. And it's very difficult at this day and age to get to a place where somebody can perceive the entirety of events, or they're willing to read through, you know, the complete dialogue to come to some realization on their own, or at least be on the same page with their own thoughts, you know, in regards to your substantiation or your observations of this world. Dune 2021, Miller's Girl with the Hobbit guy. Don't know his name. This dude is like some Oppenheimer guy. Okay. So guys in a lot of films though, I think. Don't recognize any of them. The Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. I wonder if I ever saw that one. I don't think I did. 2023? Huh. Well, there's something to like look into. But again, at this point in time, it's like I kind of genuinely wish that I had some affirmation of position, like, oh yeah, he's like a Twitch streamer or he's a YouTube streamer, you know. But it's just, it's gone so far now where it's like, man, if I was to somehow gain the highlight, I don't know, I might fit in like some Howard Stern coast to coast kind of environment more than anything. But it's just like I haven't had any feedback for like 8 years, and so it's like along those points in time I've definitely like made decisions that would probably be seen as very detrimental to somebody's character, you know, in the spotlight, you know, unless I have some warped vision of Oh yeah, but that is like the spotlight itself, and it's just like, you know, the world is a very complicated place in regards to like how to deal with the idea of like progress in regards to lots of different avenues, you know, especially if you look at historically how people advanced themselves. It's just like, yeah, there's a lot of like moral and ethical dilemmas of things that we use in today's world as to how people came to the thoughts that they eventually ended up at, which has obviously led to a better like existence within our reality, which probably leads to some moral and ethical dilemma of, you know, just like experimentation and do the ends justify the means kind of thing anyways. But it obviously is something that would probably be considered on a whole if I ever came to some grand realization of something that could be culminated into some epiphany for human culture and civilization, you know, to be considered and as being overlooked in regards to the detrimental aspects of my character or something like that. See, I don't know if I would like, obviously the guy has like a whole following and stuff like that, but looks sort of like my brother-in-law or my ex-brother-in-law, I guess. What is this? This actually yeah, I know what that's like. I've been playing. Yeah, and he just makes like noises. Huh? I can watch something like this because I've. What the heck? Funny. I get that one. That one's funny to me because I've been playing that. I mean, my channel's obviously built off of a lot of things, but it's like I'm not known for anything. I would say, what am I known for in my family? Just in like my family in general is like being on the computer, basically. But at some point in time, it's just like being known for that doesn't necessarily help the idea of being able to connect with people over common ground as to what the purpose is of reality, you know, especially with age and time, as to what the responsibilities and requirements are as to living in a cooperative society that has the ability to communicate over barriers and things like that. How reading fiction affects your brain. Be an interesting thing to read. But I was just saying that, like looking at this, like I don't necessarily know if I'm known for anything other than like being known for being on technology in general, and that's only just within like my own family. Within the realm of people who are in technology, obviously there's like varying degrees of like, you know, however much that applies in regards to how complicated your experiences are with said like aspect of your own, you know, immediate surroundings. It's just like, oh, then all of a sudden you get into that world and it's just like, oh yeah, like I'm not necessarily seen as anything in regards to my own ability, you know, in that extent, or you know, like as to it being something which is like profitable or, you know, something that I can have as like a self like satisfying interest, over time kind of thing. Other than I do think that a lot of my stuff now does have value because it's just such a mass of like stuff, but who knows in terms of life, like we can watch all the YouTube things gaining like interest over time as to like who has the most views, but then it's just like who even knows in terms of the like realm of time as to like how long YouTube is going to be something which stretches and pushes and pulls, or even like in this type of media outlet, and how it interacts with like the environment, how long like even all that stuff is going to be supported for. But see, that's a question for the ages, as just as much as like somebody who writes in books, like how long are my books going to be like survive kind of thing. Obviously it's lasted now for the majority of my experience of this without having too much of a detrimental effect. I did read some stuff, but I was just reading, and obviously I felt like I could have a sense of personal like opinion on the matter. That was probably the biggest, I guess, controversial thing I've had on my channel, that did attract like YouTube's like algorithm or whatever. But all I had to do was go in and like change things. It's just like, I don't know, obviously maybe I haven't like, if their algorithm is that good, maybe I haven't like upset too much stuff. There's just a few things, just like like I said, some like frustration that I've had with like, I don't know if I am to try to attack the problem, just like relationships and like how I've dealt with like the idea that relationships are something that is like just like all this other stuff, and tried to understand in some way, which is obviously very like I don't know, controversial. Just like trying to understand just exactly how relationships work and things like that. But I mean, again, it's not like my conversation or actions have like triggered anything on the end of anything at this point. So it's just like, I guess that I really haven't. So, or or just having like images and pictures in the background and just like being frustrated over time and just like, yeah, like having images of personages and like sexual innuendos and references like in the background and stuff like that. Which again, like if you're in certain types of worlds, it isn't not like if you're in the farming world, it's like stuff like that isn't obviously like too taboo or whatever, or like the farming or the hunting world. But getting into that type of world itself again is just like an entire thing of just like, oh yeah, like how much does the me being classed into some technology class actually forward the idea of me actually really having genuine purpose to be there, if the idea exists that individuals can communicate across these definitions that were placed into. It's just like, I don't think anything I'd get like legally in trouble for, obviously not. But then it just does bring in the whole question of just like, oh yeah, is somebody gonna come across that and think like, oh, what the kind of thing, and just like delete all my stuff. But it's just like, I don't think anything legally, or whatever. But just like little things here and there over like 8 years of never having, like 8 or 9 years almost now, like what is this, like 8 or 9 years, 2.3 thousand videos, 2,300 videos, and like, well, that's like 5 years ago, 7 years. It's just like, I mean, all this stuff is like so much so just like into the most controversial topics you can think of in regards to like race and worldviews and things like that. It's just like, I guess if I look at that start, you know, or whatever, then it's like, I mean, the foundation of all of this is built off of the most controversial stuff you can think of anyways. Probably just in terms of like how to align yourself with some form of rational thinking in regards to all the information that exists within the world. So it's 7 years, but it's like, obviously, I don't know, I guess I shouldn't fear it too much. It's just like, at what point in time do I value the stuff that I've done more so than just like referencing good knowledge and information? Probably not at this point. It's just like, so I don't necessarily feel like I need to go and like weed out or go through a bunch of different things to try and like manage, you know, or micromanage the ideas that I've come up with over the years. It's just like I said, I don't think legally I can necessarily get in trouble for anything, you know, if I ever become something. But it's just like, there's a chance that it's just like, oh yeah, we're gonna delete all this stuff because it's just like, this is like super out there kind of thing. But I don't know if you can judge based upon the stuff that I'm saying right now, you know, as to it seeming reasonable and rational. Then there's like my rationale behind that. It's just like, I don't know if I value my stuff just above and beyond like good conversation and the idea that there's information out there which is actually very valuable in regards to like streamlining your ability to perceive this world and you know, for the things that it has to offer. But see, like if I had something like this where it was just like genuinely, I had like a team, you know, that was like oriented or centered around this stuff, like I would be in a completely different reality. And it's just like something like this, you know, like all these people have probably a team that they work with, and at least, I mean, guarantee there's like a whole company centered and oriented around that, you know, or just like these people is just like, obviously there's a community at least, you know, but my community is completely silent and like unknown. If like, does it exist at all? I mean, even in like Twitch, it's just showing just like one viewer, but I don't necessarily know if that's just like the software picking up the loop, the feedback loop of me having my stream open in the stream editor, you know, kind of thing, and it's just like picking up that, or if it just means that it's like I'm directly linked to something and I'm communicating all these ideas through some sort of dreamwave that allows something to like navigate when I decide that I've said enough or done enough here. You know, that's obviously out there thinking, but I don't know how else to view it. It's just like, sometimes it says 0 viewers. If there's like, at the beginning of this it said 0 viewers. I don't know if somebody's genuinely watching or not. This whole time it's had 1 viewer, but you know, I don't know. Usually people do say something at some point in time, but maybe not. Maybe a lot of the stuff that I've said is true, and it's like, the more I am something to watch, the more that it's just this feedback loop and kind of in place. Food delivery apps. Be an interesting one to watch. That's another thing I worked for. I could like list in my little stuff that I've done for a while. It's just like, yeah, I did Uber. No, it was DoorDash. I did DoorDash for a while, but it was just like, man, there's no way that like you can keep up with like all your vehicle payments. Like, there's no way that anyone's doing this, guys. Like, it's just what it seemed to me is just like, doing that all day long. Like, I jumped aboard that before it like took off, and I was just like, hey, I can do this, and it was like, I was doing that. Like, I don't know how else anyone can get through this world without having some sort of value systems though, as to like where actual value comes from, and like how to navigate these ideas that you know some things do take precedence and prominence over just the idea of work, you know which is like the idea of automation in the system of just like, yeah, you do have some freedom to be yourself, because like there's no way like this, it makes no sense. Like, even with like taxi drivers, it like makes no sense. Like, what they just drive around all day, and it's like they get paid like 20-30 bucks or whatever for like driving somebody around in the city, and it's just like, do you know how much it costs to like fill up a vehicle? And when you look at all the pumps in like certain areas, it just doesn't even add up. It's just like the world has to be built off of some form of value systems that manage those ideas.
Hola.
What's up, dude?
I
But
heard some sheep.
what?
I heard Mary has little sheep down here.
Oh, you heard me playing that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that and a bunch of like other songs as well. Just made up stuff. I can whistle,
What?
just like made up stuff that's just like, but I found the stuff that's like Guitar Hero but for the flute.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so it's like, show you like Lord of the Rings. Play Lord of the Rings on the flute. It's like this.
Oh, nice.
I'll show you. But it's just like, yeah, it's just like Guitar Hero, and it's just like the flute is an instrument that has all the notes going down one way, so it's like you can actually read it like Guitar Hero kind of. It's a little more complicated because there's like obviously more like hand positions, but
You could probably learn Harry Potter too.
oh, this channel has like a bunch, like these guys tutorials.
Tutorials.
Creepy, Unchained. It has just like popular songs. 100, oh, not too many videos, 148, but like really has like really popular songs. Santa Baby. I don't know, it's just like timeless songs. Hey Jude,
There you go.
stuff like that. But I can whistle it.
Nice. I can't do it. Pretty soon you'll be fluting it. That's sick.
I can do it like at like half speed, some sort of,
Yeah, well,
but it's just like,
that's just how it takes. A lot of practice.
yeah, it's just like sitting there holding a note. It makes it kind of hard because when you're doing it like with this kind of thing, it's like then to like,
It's quick.
I'm like holding the note for like forever,
Yeah.
but
Definitely take breathing techniques and all those things, I would imagine.
yeah, sure, there's lots of different things. I mean, a lot of my stuff now is like, like how to play Star Wars on the flute.
There you go.
Dun, 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 dun.
It's gotta be pretty slick.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just streaming right now. I'm just talking to myself. It says I have one viewer. Either it's just me looping. It's like catching like me watching myself on this, or there's just somebody that's just really quiet, just watching. But I'm just talking. I'm just going through. I don't know, as some people do on like the internet. They just like go through and comment on like, oh yeah, you know, what do I think about if you had invested $10,000 in Berkshire Hathaway stock 30 years ago? Here's how much you'd have. I was just like, hey, you probably shouldn't dwell on the past like that, you know, too much kind of thing. But it's like, you can obviously just say the key thing to take away is just like, yeah, sure, if you stick with something that's like positive, that just like obviously navigates the whole business is all about risk and reward kind of thing. Obviously is able to navigate the whole ideas of risk and reward, then yeah, you can like stick with something and over time like have something that would be worth a lot.
Yep.
But
I'll get my weed pulling clothes on.
you, is mom gonna go and do that too?
Once she gets back.
Where'd she go?
They went to the flooring store. She's gonna put on some basketball shorts.
All right, you can close that door. Thanks. But see, like that, it's obviously just like what I've been talking about, you know, just like everybody's in different situations, and like my having to like sacrifice stuff that I'm comfortable doing for like this idea of a residence, which is like, you know, in like very hard to like maintain and upkeep. And again, at some point in time, even that doesn't necessarily reiterate the idea that I'm like self-sufficient. It's just like, yeah, you're just like helping the family garden or whatever. It's very tough, it's very difficult, you know, just like, yeah, I'm just like helping the family garden, you know, not necessarily. Careful going over there. With all those cords, you know, it's like I don't necessarily have a standing here or there kind of thing. It's like the same thing, you know. But anyways, I think that's good. I've like said a bunch of stuff. I could probably stream something now, but I don't know. It's kind of what I think.